Have you ever noticed that how when we get closer to an election time, that tempers seem to flare? Have you ever had a bumper sticker torn off your bumper or maybe marked out with another bumper sticker that was contrary to the one you had placed there? Or maybe it was destroyed with paint or a magic marker. Do you find yourself screaming at the TV as an advertisement for a politician or something comes on the TV? Or maybe you get so frustrated with the editorials in the ER that you crumple them up and throw them away. When I lived in Orange County in the 1980s, I once posted a sign for a political candidate in my front yard. And a few days later, when I arrived home, I noticed that there was a pencil circle around the name with a slash through it. So I got another sign. And I put it up in a different place in my front yard. And about 2 or 3 days later, I noticed that there was a black marker circle around the name with a slash through it. So I got a third sign. I was determined. And I put it in my front yard. And a few days later, when I arrived home from work, it was torn up and at my front doorstep. So I got a fourth sign. By gosh, nobody was going to take that away from me. And soon it disappeared, and I discovered it several days after the election, thrown into my bushes. It would have seemed that supporting a particular issue or candidate can make others mad and determined to show us that we are wrong and that they know better than how we should vote. I believe that when signs are stolen or bumper stickers are marked out and destroyed, that it's really fear showing its ugly head. Fear that their candidate will not be elected and their needs will not be met by the opposing candidate. Even though we may be at opposite ends of the spectrum politically, we are still one with each other. What we fail to know and embrace is that we are really more like each other than we think. Ernest Holmes tells us in the Science of Mind text that one mind is common to all men. This is a reminder that we are all one with God and we are also one with each other. Even though America seems to be currently polarized politically and religiously, we're more alike than we may think. Regardless of who we are, an evangelical or a Catholic, an atheist, a police officer, a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, whoever we are, just to name a few, we all have the same basic priorities in life. We want financial stability, a secure home and a secure family, strong friendships, time for our recreational pursuits, and financial stability and a healthy body. It's interesting to note that after COVID, financial stability has come to the list as the number one in that list of needs that or desires and priorities that we have, regardless of our profession, religious, or political beliefs. We all have needs as well. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which was established or explained over 50 years ago, regardless of who we are, we all have basic needs in life. The need for food, the need for shelter, water, intimacy, and love. So if we're all the same in terms of our needs and our similar priorities, why are we so angry and frustrated with each other? Why can't we see that we are just like each other? Why do we slip into judgment as soon as we hear that someone is a Republican, a Democrat, or a Libertarian, or an Independent? After all, assuming and judging another's motives and beliefs cuts us off from understanding why they believe what they do. Over the last couple of months, I have been wading my way through and reading a book entitled The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion. This author is a moral psychologist, which I didn't even knew existed until I picked up the book to read it. His name is Jonathan Haidt. Based on his research, he has ascertained that when we are born, we have a natural knowing about our physical and social worlds. Our morality, however, is established as we grow older. And he established 5 separate categories with regards to our morality. The first is harm and care. This is about how we care for and about others. It is about our bond and our compassion we have for the weak and vulnerable in our world. It also includes strong feelings about those who cause harm to others. The second category is fairness and reciprocity. This embraces the foundation of many of our world religions. Next is group loyalty. This morality category is about uniting others to fight as a group. It comes from our initial upbringing in tribal living thousands and thousands of years ago. There is a level of tribal psychology that indicates that when we don't have a tribe, we want to make a tribe so we have fun. Today there are tribes throughout our culture. Sports teams and fans. You need only watch the World Series and see the various colors that support the Astros or the Phillies right now. Those are tribes. A group of friends can be a tribe. A division within an organization can be a tribe. The Proud Boys are a tribe. The Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America are tribes. Original tribes were created for the purpose of survival. And to a certain degree, that still rings true today. The fourth moral group is authority and respect. This is based upon the elements of love, and it's voluntary. Often we think of authority and respect as the supervisor versus the subordinate, but that's not always the case. There's a level of authority and respect between an elder and a child, a coach and a player, a teacher and a student. The final moral category is purity and sanctity. This involves any ideology that tells us how we control what we do to our body. Those who lean politically right will think of this as anything to do with our sexual bodies, while those who lean to the left think of it in terms of, are we eating organically? Do we exercise regularly? Do we keep our body healthy? Haidt and some of his colleagues created a website with a questionnaire regarding these 5 moral categories and invited people to understand them and to respond to them. They wanted to know, what the political and religious leanings were of people with regards to those 5 categories. They received over 20,000 responses from individuals in the United States of America. They discovered that liberals, or maybe I should say, what areas do you think the liberals were in? Anybody want to take a guess? Oh, California, okay. Harm and care and fairness and reciprocity were the 2 categories that those on the left or those who leaned to the left had a tendency to believe in. On the other hand, conservatives scored highest in the categories of group loyalty, authority and respect, purity and sanctity. Both liberals and conservatives believe that they have something to contribute to society. Liberals, for example, believe it is their responsibility to speak for the weak and the oppressed. They want change and justice even when it causes chaos. The conservatives, on the other hand, speak for institutions and traditions. They want order even if it is at the cost of those at the bottom of the ladder. Let me be real clear here. There is no right or wrong way. There is no right or wrong belief. Everyone is entitled to their beliefs. It is us individually that stand in the way of coming together as one because we refuse to see how we are really alike in our needs, our wants, and our priorities. We just have a different way of approaching how we obtain and meet those needs and priorities. If we truly want change to occur, we must first understand who the other person is and where they are on the moral psychology spectrum. We all have a reason for what we do. We need only look at the recent decision that was made by the Supreme Court with regarding abortion to understand that the 6 justices that believed Roe versus Wade should be overturned would score high in the purity and sanctity morality category. Numerous religions give us examples of how opposites can work and exist in positive ways with each other. I'm sorry. A little frog in my throat. The yin and the yang, for example, from the Tao don't hate each other, and yet one is white and one is black, and they coexist in the same circle. In the Hindu beliefs, Vishu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer, exist in the same body. Vishu is all about stability, and Shiva is about creating change. I'm so sorry. Our country is in peril right now. Why? Because we see each other as a threat to our social order and to our country. Congress is an example of how we can't seem to come together to work. As individuals, we are good at justifying ourselves. We see ourselves as my tribe versus your tribe. We tend to demonize each other because we do not believe the same with regards to politics, needs, and priorities. We see facts differently. We assume that the other side of a situation has bad intentions and that we are right and they are wrong. Have you noticed how both liberals and conservatives use the word disgust or disgusting to describe a person with an opposing view? The definition of disgust is to provoke, to loathe, to be repugnant or adverse, to be offensive. We tend to think of someone as disgusting or morally deformed. The opposite, however, of disgusting is love, loving, fond, kindness. There are more words that describe the opposite of disgusting than there are words to describe it. Isn't it time for us to stop the negative partisanship and see the other person as one with each of us? Isn't it time to dissolve the walls between us? There are major steps that we as individuals must take to make that happen. First, we have to be willing to change how we think. The individual opposite each and every one of us is not disgusting or a demon. They are one with you with similar needs, desires, and priorities. We must be willing to see and know that none of us wants a divided nation. Next, we must release our judgment of others. Indeed, this is a tough one. A recent New York Times poll indicated that 46% of those who were surveyed believed that once they knew somebody's political party, they knew whether they were good or not. Our textbook tells us that judgment is merely the law of cause and effects operating. The universe holds nothing against us. If the universe doesn't hold anything against us, how can we be against someone else? When we're judging others, we are, in essence, comparing ourselves to them. If you find yourself in judgment, move to a place of compassion for the other person and release your negative thoughts. Stephen Covey stated in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, that we needed to listen to understand rather than to be understood. Too often our brain is jumping ahead while someone is telling us something, trying to figure out how we're going to do one-upmanship or better than them or refute what they are saying. It takes real focus to hear what another person is genuinely sharing. The Franciscan theologian Duns Scotus wrote that we are to love things in and as themselves, to love things for what they are, not for what they do for us or to us. When we begin to love another just as they are, we are we're freeing them from our agenda and allowing them to have their own. We can begin to love them for themselves as living images of the divine. Let go of the big ideas about a given topic. When we stay in that place of big ideas at the level of concepts and isms, we get stuck there and fail to move on. We can easily love humanity when we're stuck in the big ideas or the big picture arena. But when it comes to loving people on an individual basis, it becomes more difficult. When we can move to that place of loving people as themselves, we have shifted to that place of looking at others and the world through God's eyes. When we look out from the eyes of the divine, we realize it's not all about us. Next, we must let go of negativity about the other person and their beliefs and perspectives. To keep negativity going, we have to have someone or something to attack or to condemn. There will always be individuals who project negativity, but don't allow yourself to get sucked into that. It's a terrible game. It is time to be open and willing to learn. Sometimes we can find nuggets in the strangest place. Truth is not always found in the newspaper, the television news, or your best friend who believes just like you do. We can still disagree with someone and still learn from them. When we're willing to experience another, we often enhance our knowledge. My dad had 2 sayings. God doesn't give you anything more than you can handle, and nobody ever said life was easy. Whenever I was having a challenge and talking about it with my dad, those 2 sayings would always manage to come up someplace in the conversation. Most of us think that life should be easy, that indeed when life is a challenge, we can handle it. Life, however, has on occasion given us lemons to work with, and right now I think our nation has a basket full of lemons. In Luke 11:17, Jesus said, "Every kingdom which is divided against itself shall be destroyed, and a house which is divided against itself shall fall." We see our country as fractured. People are losing their rights, and there are those who are fighting to take rights away. Families are disconnected. Long-term friendships are disintegrating because of Facebook postings. Strangers are harsh and angry, and they offer their unwanted advice. We feel resistance to love and wonder what we have done wrong. This pushback to goodness and love should not defeat us. After all, it is based on a fear that an individual's needs and wants will not be met. As Reverend John Plawowski puts it, love has never won because it's gone unopposed. It's won because it is persistent, stubborn, who believes that people are worth fighting for, bleeding for, waiting for, sacrificing for. Love is proven not only in passion, but in time as well, in the perseverance of its work within, around, and through us. Love will ultimately win out in our country when brave individuals are willing to stand up when life is ugly and bring a counter movement to that ugliness. Yes, we can change things in our nation, that when we realize that indeed we are just like each other, and that all, if we are alike, why must we fight and stay divided? Our acts of staying endurance and having a willingness to love even when it hurts can ultimately handle what has shown up. Love wins out when we make the choice to listen just once more, to reach out one more time, to make one more plea. Love wins out when we refuse to let separation, anger, hatred, or bitterness win our day. Love wins when we extend an open hand rather than a fist. It is through our refusal to let bitterness, separation, political dissonance, and hate win out. It is through our willingness to see our sameness that love will win out. After all, love is all there is, and we are just like each other. This is the truth in my life, and this is the truth in yours, and so it is. Amen.